out there and create some more leaders. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see some of you younger guys that'll be able to come up here as well and get this wonderful medal. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Small College Basketball Podcast, celebrating the players, the programs, the coaches, and the history of small college basketball. Of course, we have to thank Visit Central Florida for their support of the podcast, their support of the Small College Basketball Hall of Fame Classic. Start planning your Central Florida vacation today at visitcentralflorida.com. My name is Chris Cottrell, back with you. And back after an extended break. We've had a couple of these 2-week breaks. We finished our basketball season up in New York, went through our playoffs, went through our banquet, trying to recharge for next season. Workouts are starting next week, so we're just rolling right through. But an extended break. So where are we at in the small college basketball season? Before we get to our guest, Bob Quillman, where are we at in small college basketball? The NCAA men's basketball tournament brackets have been announced. The tournament begins Sunday, tomorrow, March 10th. They will crown a national champion at Virginia State University on Wednesday, March 13th. The NCCAA, the National Christian College Athletic Association, that men's basketball championship will kick off on Wednesday, March 20th, a couple of weeks to go. They will crown a champion on Saturday, March 23rd. The NAIA selections have been announced. Opening rounds begin the 15th and the 16th of March. National championship tournament returns to Kansas City on the 21st through the 26th later this month. And in NCAA Division II, those conference tournaments are wrapping up as of today and tomorrow. The men's basketball championship field will be announced on Sunday, tomorrow night, late, 11 o'clock Eastern. Regional quarterfinals begin on Saturday, the 16th. Games continue through the national championship on March 30th at the Ford Center in Evansville, Indiana. So we knocked out just now USCAA, the NCCAA, NAIA, Division II, but where are we at in Division III? Well, Division III, we're already knees deep in it. We have Bob Quillman with us, host of the QCast, a perfect time to get him on and talk about the NCAA Division III men's basketball championships in the Sweet 16. By the time this podcast is released, we'll be through the Sweet 16 and we'll be rolling into the Elite Eight. Quarterfinals later today. Bob, first of all, thank you and help us get a grip on March Madness because Division III is off and running really hard.
It is, Chris. It's good to be back with you. Appreciate everything that you guys do at Small College Basketball. Your coverage of all the levels is incredible. It's cool to hear all the information on the tournaments you threw out there about all these levels that you cover. But yeah, D3, we're heading to the Sweet 16 at the time we're recording this, and it should be a great weekend of basketball. You know, we will have our Final Four field as of late Saturday night, and that's pretty exciting. And there's a lot of teams that could get there. It's a great field.
It's a really impressive field. We were talking a little bit before we came on the air about just how strong the tournament field is. There's a ton of parity, not many upsets, so to speak. But I think the story of the tournament at this point has to be Christopher Newport. Last year's national champion. They're still alive in the Sweet 16. They've had a bit of an up and down season. We had Pat Quillman on. He talked about their roster adjustments, but they've won 4 straight, entering the Sweet 16, including their coast-to-coast athletic conference tournament championship. They're 23-6. What are you seeing from Christopher Newport?
Yeah, they had a lot of roster turnover, as you mentioned. Trey Barber, their first team All-American, big guy, the guy who hit that buzzer beater last year. He left the team somewhere late, and I think that maybe that's helped them. It seemed like they went through a period where they weren't sure what was going on there, and it seems like it's one of these like, okay, this is who our team is,
Right.
and now they're playing that way as if he's gone, and other guys have stepped up, and you're right. Them winning the game against Widener was a big one. On paper, that's an upset. Now, you and I also off the air talked about, like, have there really been any upsets? Is Christopher Newport beating Widener a huge upset? I mean, not really, but it was
Not
at Widener's
necessarily,
place.
right.
Not right.
Yeah.
So I think Christopher Newport has another game that is very winnable against Williams. Williams is great, by the way. They've been playing great. They might be the story of the tournament. So Christopher Newport and Williams, two of the great stories of the tournament so far, face off Friday, and that should be a great one.
And Williams, we're talking about the story of the tournament. I mean, they get a game winner to advance to the Sweet 16 over Oswego State. Cole Probert Smith just makes a layup at the buzzer. And that's the beauty of March Madness is, you have Oswego State top 15, extremely talented bunch. And then you've got Williams, also very talented, very good. But it comes down to the last possession. What are your thoughts on Williams versus Christopher Newport?
Yeah, that's going to be a great game. A little bit of contrasting styles. Williams is like they always are. They're so big across the board. They're so big and skilled. And Christopher Newport has a ton of quickness and athleticism and just guys that can hoop, right? So different teams. I kind of like what Williams has going right now. I feel like they just destroyed DeSales. And
Yeah.
remember, DeSales was the higher seed in that one. So, that was one of those non-upset upsets that we've been talking about. Like, Williams beating DeSales to me is not going to be an upset, but they pounded them. Then they win the buzzer beater game against Oswego. So for me in that one, Chris, I just feel like Williams kind of has this train rolling kind of thing. And I guess Christopher Newport feels the same. So it's going to be fantastic.
In your opinion, we're talking about Williams having it rolling. What other teams have momentum on their side right now in March? If there's one or two teams that come to mind, maybe three.
Yeah, I mean, the easy one's to say Hampton-Sydney. They're the number one overall seed in this thing. They got it done in the conference tourney in the ODAC. They enter March as the top seed line in the top left bracket, so they're the favorite.
Yeah.
And you'd have to say that they have momentum on their side. If I had to pick another one, maybe I would go with Case Western Reserve. They're also a one seed. They're not the overall one, but they're the UAA's Pool A team, the AQ winner from the UAA. The UAA, I think it's pretty easy to say, was the best league again this year, 1 through 8, the strongest, the deepest league.
Yes.
The ODAC, if we could chop off the bottom 4 or 5 teams, we'd say that. But the
right
ODAC's ridiculous, right? So, Case Western, and I'll throw one more at you, and it happens to be the team Case Western's playing in the round of 16. That's Platteville.
Yeah.
Platteville won the WIAC. The WIAC historically is the best league in Division III. It wasn't this year, but they're good. They're really good. And I'll be talking to Logan Pearson on the QCast actually tonight, the day we're recording this. So Case and Platteville, like, how good is that? Like, that's an incredible round of 16 game.
As you look at the bracket, Hampton-Sydney, Case Western, and Platteville, all double-digit winners, and not double-digit winners like, 10 making free throws down the stretch. Double-digit winners, like they were the three best teams going through those first 2 rounds. So I think that's impressive. And
absolutely,
Case Western, really good, has been challenged all year long. We talked off the air about these non-upset upsets, and if you're looking for a surprise of the tournament, it might be Calvin over John Carroll. John Carroll was the number 2 team in the country when Calvin beat them in the second round. And Calvin is one of the best players in the country. Jalen Overway is averaging, 20 points a game, 10 rebounds per game. So was that really an upset? Elaborate on the non-upset upset.
It was a non-upset upset because look, if those two teams played on a neutral floor, I would pick Calvin every day of the week on a neutral floor. The fact it was at John Carroll, which is a really hard place to win. And by the way, they're fantastic. They have a great team.
Oh,
the fact it was there, I think John Carroll had to be on paper the favorite in that game. So it was an upset. But look, Calvin has the best big guy in Division III. They have in my opinion, the biggest mismatch in Jalen Overway, who's 6'10", 250, and he is skilled and has great touch. And you have to double him, often triple him. If Calvin knocks down wide open threes, they're not going to lose. Like, they can get all the way and win the national championship if guys standing on the arc catch the ball, shoot it, and make it, which I don't know what they shot percentage-wise against John Carroll, but it was good. It was really good. And I'm actually thinking the game before against Elmhurst, they torched Elmhurst. I actually don't know what the percentage was against John Carroll, but look, Calvin is great and they can win the national championship.
Calvin with one of the best players in Division III. Oh my gosh. So Calvin, one of the best players in Division III, Jalen Orway, that's a bit of a non-upset upset. What about Rowan over Catholic? Because that's another one that we look at from the outside looking in, and you say, okay, number 14 team in the country, Rowan, they defeat Catholic at Catholic. Marcellus Ross has 31 points, but is that really an upset?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I had a chance to see Catholic in person this year. I was visiting some family out in DC and ended up going to see Catholic and Drew play. Catholic's a really good team, really skilled team with great players. Rowan, they have some dudes. Like, you watch Rowan play, the final 5 minutes of that Catholic game, Rowan could have easily given it away. They had guys step up and make like tough shots.
Mm-hmm.
And Rowan is big and physical and athletic. And I mean, no, that's just not an upset. The fact that they beat Catholic, I guess it could be with the seedings it is, but
right.
That's the kind of year it's been in Division III, year of parity. And that isn't one of these, like if Farmingdale State had beaten Hampton-Sydney, that's an upset.
Right.
But Rowan over Catholic at Catholic, that's just a great game between two great teams.
We're talking about Catholic, and we've talked already about Case Western. We've talked about John Carroll, and then we haven't mentioned them yet, but Trine had a great season. And I've scrolled Twitter. As I'm looking at Twitter, those 4 schools stand out to me as having incredible student sections, incredible marketing for Division III. I mean, we're talking about Trine a little bit off the air, like bacon night, free beer night. Like, talk about creating an environment that people want to be a part of, often overlooked in Division III. And you've lived Division III for a long time. Talk about that for a little bit. Just the atmosphere of this tournament.
Yeah, I think that there are some programs out there that really do like engagement correct, and social media is a huge part of that. Trine, if you follow what they do, they are really, really good at like doing fun things and bringing people in. You mentioned bacon night. Now we have free beer night. And you're right. Those 4 programs in that pod, Case, Platteville, Trine, and WashU, all 4 are great programs. And, we wouldn't have said that about Case Western Reserve like 4 years ago. We would have said like they're the bottom of the UAA. Mm-hmm. They are a great program. Platteville always has been. WashU always has been. And Trine has become one in the last 5 years or so, starting it was about 5 years ago that really they amped it up. So that, if you want to get your money's worth and just go to one of these pods, get yourself to Angola, Indiana, if you can get in the door, because you're going to see some unbelievable games there.
And for you, obviously you're going to be locked into the Sweet 16 and locked into the Elite Eight. What do those days look like for Bob Quillman and the QCast? Like, is it just multiple screens and total focus?
Yeah, for sure. Like I mentioned, I'm going to talk to Logan Pearson of Platteville tonight as we're recording this, kind of catch him on the eve of his big Friday game. And then I'm just, you can only record so many podcasts, right? I mean, then it's time to watch the games. And so Friday night is multiple screens. Saturday, there's less games. There's only 4 left, right? So then it gets a little easier because the staggering of the times.
Right.
But I'll be locked into all that stuff. And it has been a great season. And it seems like this is exactly the kind of tournament that we thought we would have based on the season, which is where you feel like 10 of these teams left can win it.
Absolutely. The lack of parity in Division III. We talked about this in our previous podcast, but I think the transfer portal is trickling down and it's leading to less, to more and more parity among the lower levels, like the small college basketball levels. Just the higher quality of player coming down from Division I now, with the way the recruiting cycle is working. It's just fascinating to watch. I mean, we're talking about teams that, in Division III, like there are 10 teams left in the Sweet 16 that can legitimately win the national championship. And that doesn't happen at the Division I level. In most instances. Yeah.
I think 2 things. I think number one, the COVID 5th year of eligibility has been huge for teams that can get 5th year kids. And then number 2 is the transfer portal. When you merge those together, like think about the power of Case Western Reserve and all of these upper level D3 studs that have come there for a grad year because they have grad programs. And that's your point, right? Is that the parity is helped by what's been going on here in the world of athletics between the 5th year for COVID and the portal. And Case Western Reserve has done an amazing job of like leveraging all of that. A lot of teams have, like I think Hampton Sydney has some 5th year guys on that team, and we could look up and down rosters. So that has been the equalizer in many, many ways, is like it's really leveled the playing field because there's so many talented and deep teams. And I'm interested to see after next year, which is the final year of the 5th year, what do things look like in 2 seasons? And I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Hopefully we're still talking about that in 2 seasons, figuring
I think we will be.
What the ramifications are, for sure. I think it's going to change and continue to change. I mean, I don't think this is over. I think smaller schools are going to also learn how to work NIL. I think that's coming down the line too, because if they don't, if they don't, they'll be out of the mix for a lot of players.
And I think also there's just there are more programs that are trying to win. There's more programs that have hired great coaches and they've given those coaches the keys and said, like, we're going to support you and we want you to win. There's just more of those. If you look at some of the names on the bracket, Illinois College, Steve Schweer builds that thing up over 5-6 years and they win their first ever NCAA tournament game. Illinois College in Jacksonville won more games in the tournament this year than Illinois Wesleyan that didn't make the field. Like, there are more programs that are relevant than ever before. You could look up and down the bracket and pick a bunch out and say, like, yeah, like that's not a program that we would have thought of being on this bracket. And it's just a different land. There's 430 eligible D3s this year, I think. And I would guess that there's just a higher percentage than ever of teams that have fielded competitive teams.
And with that, there are some, we've talked about some upsets or the seeding upsets that aren't really upsets. I think there's one matchup to watch that stands out to me, and I'm going to give you mine. I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are. Guilford, 24-4, Keene State, 26-3. Bottom side of the bracket, there are combined 50-7. They both have players on the Bevo Francis Award watch list. Keene State has Jeff Hunter and Octavio Brito. Brito had 40 points the other night against Eastern. Guilford, Tyler Dearman, averaging 20 points a game. I think that's kind of, if I'm circling a game, if I got to watch one, that's the one I'm circling. What are your thoughts on this Sweet 16 into the next round of 8?
Yeah, that's an incredible game. In fact, my pre-tournament bracket before the game started, I had Keene State going to the Final Four, and that was doing the math and assuming that Guilford was going to host. So I think Keene State is fantastic. I think that duo of Brito and Hunter is unbelievable, and it's contrasting style. Guilford, like defensively, is elite, and I'm interested to see how does that play out. Keene State offense versus Guilford defense. I like Keene State to find a way in that one, but I do acknowledge that Guilford's home court is tough. The way I look at it, though, is Keene State's used to playing in front of a packed house in that place all the time. They're used to that environment. And I think sometimes teams like that, they like going into that on the road. And I'm with you, and I'm circling that game as well. And I kind of like the chances for the Owls in that one.
Is there another game that you're circling?
You mean ups? Well, I guess this would be kind of non-upset, I guess. But
if you got to sit and watch one game,
how about Calvin and Randolph-Macon? So think about this for a second.
Right.
Josh Merkel has this powerhouse program. He won the Natty 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He was awesome last year, and now he's awesome again this year. And Calvin has to go to Trinity. Those games are at Trinity in Hartford, Connecticut. So I think people look at that like Randolph-Macon is a significant favorite, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way at all. I think that's a coin flip on a neutral floor. In fact, I like Calvin in that one. I don't know that Randolph-Macon can guard Overway. They don't really have a huge person down at 5.
They're not a size team. Yeah, they're not a size team.
They're not. And so don't get me wrong. They're incredible. But I guess I'm looking at that one a little bit and thinking that Calvin can beat Randolph-Macon. And one other that I'm fascinated by is Platteville and Case. I have Platteville going to the Final Four. And I feel like they're hard to beat. They have so many weapons, and Case does too. But I like the Platteville Case game, and I wish I could be in the building for that one. That's going to be fantastic.
So if you could give us a couple of players to watch in this Sweet 16, maybe round of Elite 8.
Yeah.
Besides who we've mentioned, obviously Hunter and Brito and Dearman.
Yeah, I'm looking at the brackets, and I'll try to pick some that we haven't. How about Claremont Mud Scripts? Anyone that hasn't watched Josh Angle play needs to go watch Josh Angle play. He is a stud, kind of a little combo guard that just makes unbelievably big shots in big moments. Wash U plays Trine, and I guess you'd have to say Trine's a favorite on Trine's floor by 3 points. And Hayden Doyle is one of the best guards in Division III. He is a big time shot maker. So if you have not seen Hayden Doyle play, you need to check out Hayden Doyle. And I'm going to give you one more guy that's on Calvin that is in the shadows, and that's Uchenna Ekekezi. And everyone gets pubbed for making baskets, but you want to see a guy that changes the game through defense and that is Uchenna Ekekezi. Watch him play defense for Calvin, and you will just be like blown away. He's such an athletic freak and such a difference maker. So, look, those are some guys that you should check out in addition to checking out everyone that tees it up on Friday and Saturday, because it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and so the Division III tournament goes Friday, Saturday. Obviously, we get through the round of 8. We have the Final Four. Where will you be for the Final Four?
I will be in Fort Wayne. So I've been to every Fort Wayne. Have there been 3 of them? I guess there've been 3 of them now. I've been to all of those. I arrive there Wednesday night, and I'll be there the whole time. So wouldn't miss it. Looking forward to seeing everybody. And yeah, that's just kind of a put it on the calendar and go every year kind of thing now.
Well, Bob Quillman, it is our pleasure to have you on with us tonight. Being respectful of your time, looking forward to what we have coming up with the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Obviously, you have interviews coming up later on this evening. Just fascinating stuff to watch Division III basketball, to watch the elite level of talent and coaching in the national tournament, and then all year long. I think, as we've mentioned a little bit, just the quality of play, the quality of coaching at the Division III level is wildly underappreciated.
For sure. Yeah, if you look at what programs are doing right now and the leadership of those programs, Division III is in great hands, and it's kind of been building up to this point for many, many years. And the division could not be in a stronger position. You're only going to see that keep getting better. And there are some big time coaches at this level, and the kids don't want it any less than the ones you're going to see in the D1 March Madness in a couple weeks. That the kids want it literally every bit as much. They work every bit as hard, and the emotions are every bit as strong. And that's why we love it.
Absolutely. Well, once again, thank you for your time. Hope everybody tunes in to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Everybody tune into the QCast. When's the next drop of the QCast?
Yeah, it'll be tonight. So by the time that people watch this episode, they can go back and check out the Logan Pearson episode, and that should be a fun one.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Bob, and enjoy the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and your trip to the Final Four.
Thanks so much, Chris, and tell John hello for me. Appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you.